To everyone here, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. In years past, I mean, it's been a while that I've necessarily been here on what is this occasion, which is the last reading of the year that we're hosting here because we have to take a break for all the seasonal craziness upstairs. But it's always, there was often a way we would mark it with those a special night at the end, you know, that kind of bring a year to a close and a year that needs something good to close it out with. And the most wonderful way of doing so, I think I can think of no better way than the anthology that Susan Rich and others here have put together, this book, Birdbrains, a lyrical guide to Washington State birds. I don't know if the birds know about the boundaries of the state, that they're going to be in the state, but a beautifully done book, which includes writing, includes bird notes that have been put in by Stephanie Delaney, artwork that's coming and going through by Hiroko Seki, who they're here, but I think the plan is mostly for you to hear the poets reading from the work, and of which this book, I believe, has almost 100 contributors. They're not all poets, they're different writing and contributing. Almost 100, and I believe you're going to hear from 14 of them here today, just taking turns. You'll hear different birds, different pieces to that. I also want to underline, besides saying a little more about Susan, who is a marvelous poet, well-traveled, just back from India, author of many collections, most recently Blue Atlas, and many of the people you're going to hear from today also have their own books. But also to really pay tribute to Phoebe Wiche and Raven Chronicles, which has done this amazing kind of pivot for years, doing an invaluable work of publishing a journal, a literary journal, and the pivot I'm saying is to doing these extraordinary books, both reprints of books that should be in print by writers from this region, and now this anthology, which I think is, they've done a few other anthologies, but this one is a marvelous one, as many of you are getting to see. So I'm going to turn this over to Susan first, and she will set everything else in motion. And we have copies of Birdbrains in the back, and again, all of you who are here to read today, we welcome and thank you for being here, and everyone else as well. Thank you so much. And now please join in welcoming Susan Rich.
Thank you, Rick. Can everybody hear me in the back okay? Thumbs up, thumbs up. Thank you. I was telling Patrick earlier that the reason I moved to Seattle was so that Elliott Bay Books would be my bookstore. And it has a super special place in my heart, and they've welcomed me ever since my first book came out. The thing that makes me happiest after poetry is bird watching. Those are Martha Solano's words that open up the book. One of the three poets who we wholeheartedly gave their work to this book have flown into other worlds. And I just wanted to start by acknowledging the three poets who I hope are here in spirit with us today. Jennifer Martelli, Jane Merrick, and Martha Solano. I believe they are celebrating with us today. And thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm Susan Rich, and I'm the editor of this book, which has so many stories and so many of you in it. And I could spend the whole time talking about the making of the book, but I will not. And it is in the introduction that starts with Dear Reader, so I hope that you'll read that. I want to acknowledge the other people in the room who've made this book possible. Birdbrains is a true collaboration of writers, artists, scientists, and one interested publisher. Hiroko Seki, and I don't know, Hiroko, if you want to stand up, if she will, has created over the birds that you see hanging out next to me. These are all illustrations, artwork that Hiroko has made for the book. So over 100. And one of the gifts of this project was my meeting Hiroko. And every once in a while, we would get together at a Starbucks, because it was halfway between our homes, and I would help decide which birds were going to be in the book, because Hiroko often had 3 or 4 different ideas of what could be in, and it was one of the big joys. my dear friend Stephanie Delaney, who's here over here. Stephanie, would you stand up for a minute? Our friendship has a wingspan of over 25 years. You're going to hear some bad bird puns all through here. I'm thrilled that we finally got to work together. It means that I actually got to see Stephanie more than I have in previous years. And then unable to be with us today is Ursula Valdez, an avian ecologist. Who knew such a thing existed? And a conservationist whose enthusiasm for this project and doing the forward came at just the right moment. And now on to our program. Each poet, and not everyone is a poet, there are some fiction writers and nonfiction writers in the blend, will read their piece. That they read their piece and then they'll read one piece they've chosen from the anthology. So each person will read their poem and a poem by someone else that they found interesting. And I've gone off my notes, so what else did I say? In the interest of time, we won't read out the bios. Again, the bios are in the book, but we're here really to listen to the birds, the bird poems. And you're welcome to, when we're done, Patrick will be selling books in the back, and there will be a book signing, and we'll also have a Q&A. Over 90% of the work in the book was made for this book. And that means poets like Jane Hirshfield, Ellen Bass, Naomi Shihab Nye, Carolyn Forche wrote because I think of their love of birds, and this is the only place you can find their work. All of the poets and writers that are here today are rock stars. And up first, who I am meeting in person for the very first time, and a faculty member for Poets on the Coast next September, is Abby Murray. Abby, come on down.
Oh dear.
A height issue.
A little bit. All right, can everyone hear okay? All right. I'm going to read my poem. I feel like everyone has the book, so if you want to follow along, it's page 203. I had the American Goldfinch. This is called Advice from a Goldfinch. It's okay to be a little dull in winter, to be lit from the inside, except when you're not. Wrap yourself as needed in the gray sweater of perseverance. Let your bright yellow name fall out in bitty tufts. Your body has already begun to regenerate. We can only let go of what we've been. And hey, there's nothing wrong with singing a wordless song. Spend more time in the woods. Your family is called a charm. Someday, you'll miss being able to argue with your beloved about dinner, about the empty feeder on the porch, and whose turn it was to fill it. Bicker now while you can. Let the neighbors peep at you through their binoculared eyes and blinds. They wish they could be as free as you. And the poem that I chose to read is by my friend Rena Priest. It's on page 93, and her bird was the Wilson snipe. This poem is called Snipe Hunt. How often have I sent myself on a snipe hunt, chasing down one fantastical folly or another, returning empty-handed to the mocking, scoffing of my wiser self. How else to cope with it all but laugh? I am lost, if not for a sense of humor and an eye on a world oblivious to foolishness, perhaps even finding it beautiful, the way I find a Wilson snipe with its dopey eyes and cartoon beak to be a prime example of how not to take any of this too seriously. And the next poet is Kathleen Flenniken.
It's great to see you all here. I chose the California quail because my brother wrote a letter to me and described the scene that I will describe in this poem of a quail who saw himself in the window and thought it was his lost cubby. Quail without a cubby. Every day he paces the deck railing, being sociable with his reflection in the windows. His old cubby wandered off in a wobbly line, so he's trying to break in with this new one, garbed in gray and brown graduation gowns and jaunty black bullion tassels. They're handsome but standoffish. What will become of him with no appetite for seeds or leaves or even a pleasant dirt bath, only worry and trying to look casual and the need to belong? I feel it too on the dark side of the glass. And I'm going to read a poem by Alan Braden called About the Black-Billed Magpie, called Charmed. Some thought, they said, pie, pie, a caw that ratchets from fence posts, not enough cuss and raucous, if ever the wind delivers a whiff of decay, when they aren't filching kibble or snatching ground nestlings. Egg slurpers, vulturous appetite, all gussied up in undertaker pallor for formal dining. Carcass dancers, their black gleam, oil spill iridescence, the obsidian of a hearse, sideways glancers, the white of bones picked clean, roadkill comforters, a swoon of ants, a trance of flies, have set the table for these gristle wrestlers to hold counsel. We call it a charm. We called that meadow crime scene the island because Simcoe Creek formed a question mark on three sides. Bone pickers, whose pallbearers are you? That's Alan Braden. And our next reader is Arlene Naganaw.
My poem is about the Buick's friend. Song, pronounced Buick, saucy, thicky, scrabbling under the limelight's fluttering shade. Sunlight filter, fast car, trilling, scolding, hot white brow, tip-tailed, crevice-loving, nest-loving, mate for life, chaparral and open road. Cheeky songster west of the Mississippi, our evening chime of wrens, hidden in an eagle's plumage, vanilla strawberry blossoms. And I'm reading Jean Moral's Ode to the Sagebrush Sparrows spotted off-road on the old Vantage Highway. The old road studded with bunchgrass, scrub step, silver blue clumps above the river. Below, blue, sky along the gorge, spiders rustle, wind brushes up. Dear sagebrush sparrows, dear bird of concern, your number's low and going missing, but still in February you show up in pairs. Dear bird of concern, do you know there are federal files on you? Our next reader is Erin Malone.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just love this. Thank you, Susan, Stephanie, Hiroko. Thank you. Hats off to house finches. for their ability to be everywhere. Grassland, stable, trees along the parking strip, praise. Praise their highly social nature. 3 cheers warble, 3 cheers warble, little redbreast wooing. Praise nestlings for wearing the marks of their mothers, flurry and soft. Praise their punky featherheads. Knotweed and thistle and sunflowers, black oil seeds. Praise bounty, for finches aren't picky. Their nests are stem and remnant made, dog fur and string, or they'll take a move-in ready. Praise this family living in the cardboard prefab our child painted and brought home. Praise the nail it hangs from and the shady porch. Nothing fancy. This gift, these birds. We open the spring door carefully to avoid alarm. This poem is by Jenny George. Homecoming. Walking home from a party in summer dusk. I'm always walking home from a party. The darkly lit staircases of the clouds sweeping upwards. The quiet streets. And in the park, a Cooper's hawk perched on a branch, pinning down the carcass of a smaller bird with her talons. She stands on her meal, flaying it into strings. Someone excavating life out of disillusionment. A few plucked petals of fuzz float down in the gold. I am always walking home, and it's always summer, the ticking instrument of the earth, the clouds, the inexhaustible trees.
Wow.
Thank you. And the next poet is Greg November.
Hi, everybody. Helping me out with the reading and making their stage debut is Olive and Wesley. And this piece, A Nest Becomes a Nest, is about the Merlin. From the tip of an old hemlock in a trailhead parking lot, small dark bird shapes dart, tweeting, vectors direct, powerful. Some seasons ago, crows found the hemlock and assembled a twig nest bolstered by sock fuzz, doll hair, and other lot leave behinds. But as happened, abandoned it to mists in winter, and so after a thaw, this season's mating merlin birds came to hatch, fledge, and send off a new generation. 1,000 years ago, they were called ladyhawks, and noblewomen used them for hunting larks. 100 years ago, they were called pigeonhawks, because that's what they look like. Alakazam. A nest becomes a nest. Repurposing. A hawk, becomes a falcon. Magic. Also, misperception. But actually, reperception. They charge rather than soar, from tree to tree, hemlock to cedar to hemlock, teasing one another, issuing taunts and challenges, motivation, some of them, to nervous fledglings in their 29th day, hesitating on the precipice of first flight, perched on the lip of their high up first home, they hop momentarily, steeling themselves for the leap. Then, thanks guys. The other piece I'm going to read tonight is Robbie Gamble's Dusk Eater about the common nighthawk. Insectivore, no hooked beak bird of prey, he waits to play on skyline silhouettes when midges rise to swell the placid air, a fly-specked feast suspended in his path. Deployed across the skyline silhouettes, his white-patched elbows flashing with each flap, a fly-specked banquet yielding to his path, then hoovered down the cavern of his throat. his white patched elbows flashing with each flap. A raucous beat electrifies the gloom, resounding from the cavern of his throat. He boomerangs to reel another catch. His raucous beat electrifies the gloom. His acrobatic hunger flays the sky. A boomerang that you could never catch. Misnamed, voracious, cheerful in his cry. Next up, please welcome Anya Kirshbaum.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay? Pretty short. So I'm going to start with my poem that was inspired because I learned that many of the birds with proper names are slotted to be renamed. This is renaming Anna's hummingbird. Call me Scarlet Bottle Rocket, Love Nectars, Helicopter of the Heliotrope, Queen of the Spiderweb's Wintering. Call me Hot Lips Sugar Blossom, Candy Pruner. Call me Watermelon Kisser. I think you might be a flower in your red dress. I think you might plant the tallest penstemon. I'm sipping the purple lupins, deep diving in the bee balm. I have come for the sweetness, to winter near the soft cup I have woven in the junipers. I have tucked it in the branches there, a womb of 1 inch, for the tiny white jelly beans, my 2 darlings. I know you think I am your grandmother. I know you want to stroke the impossible iridescence at my throat, that you wish to pin me to your poem. But I'm just zipping through, a little myth troubling the air. So fast, a green blur, a question you can't answer. Call me toothless cartographer, tiny astral bloom, firework in full daylight. I am just upside down here, split-tonguing the red columbine. A little zigzag of tiny gods. I know that you love me a little, but I have caught a good updraft, winged so fast you can't see, a talisman tucked in to the cascara tree. Call me scarlet sundrop, fierce little vector, call me treble clef. I know you have hung a saucer of sweet water from your eaves, but I'm out liquoring in the sugar sages, gathering the aphids, the microscopic midges. I think you ought to join. Sink your tongue into the coral honeysuckle, you strange, unfeathered animal, you funny 2-legged thing, slow and hunched, a bit lost. Call me wind tumbler, winged wheelbarrow, shooting star of the funneling fuchsia. I'm knitting the spider silk, the lichens, pushing in the thistledown. A little lightning flash, priestess of the gooseberries, dive bombing the morning. All right, so I'm going to read Carolyn Forshay's poem, The Hurrybird. We called them hurrybirds, the snowy plovers, running along the sand in their congregation, never close to the water like sanderlings, just as back and forth in their hunt, these puffs of down or sea foam on twig legs, once-eyed on the lower dunes, away from the water's edge, their nests in shallow cups of sand left by the wind or a child's pail, the footprint of a human, an animal track, or just an impression made by the stir of wind. Nests lined with pebbles and bits of shell, grasses and debris in invisible pockets of beach. They were here just as we remember them, when we didn't know what they were called, nor that their young sing in the egg before hatching. So much we didn't know as they hurried before us, nesting only on open sand and never among the grasses meant to anchor dunes, grasses that are everywhere now where the nests once were, or why they feigned a broken wing when we neared them. We know now. We know fire weather and sea rise, as they know the shadows of owls. And then next is Kristie McLean.
So my poem is called Song Canopy, and it's on page 251, if you would like to follow along. What do you call a flame with wings? Brilliant yellow with a sunset head, establishing territory with non-stop singing. How would the world change if we claimed our homes with music? Arriving in the dark, in the spring, in the morning their gold feathers land on one tree in the canopy. Musical notes, drops of butter, coins falling from the sky. Females prepare for the next generation. Scaffold and floor, grasses and moss. Blue-green spotted moons hatch helpless. Without her, the species would not survive. The oldest wild one recorded lasted 7 years. What were you doing 7 years ago? When all around you seems lost, keep your eyes turned up toward the canopy. Listen for the singing. You can create a whole new life in 7 years that doesn't yet exist.
Wow.
I'll be reading a poem called The Shape of Light by Anne Haven MacDonald, and it's on page 243 if you'd like to follow along. Color is a verb. I remember as he spikes tips of neck feathers, leans his head back, flashes shades of blue, turns syrinx to song, snag of sky, and like the sky, a trick that's empty of pigment. Just a bend our eyes see as gemstone, shallow sea, throat of northern lights, turquoise traded from another world. We sit together on a ledge of sandstone, my mother's sit spot, a slope of scrub oak and sumac below the hogbacks, those slabs of stone that anchor us home. In this song, Neighborhood, each male sings his signature of rivered notes, a question he asks and answers his whole life, over and over, singing this cup of rootlets and grass, these 4 blue eggs, this tending. Later they'll fly in starlit currents south, They'll stop and gather and molt every feather. Grow new blue in what is called a mural or a sacrifice. On her fused foot bones and metal knee, my mother walks slowly down the trail. Blue is a verb, a hood of bright grief, sheer refusal of grief. Even buried in darkness, a color made of sunlight. In starlight, a memory of blue. And our next poet is Stacy Flood.
Thank you everyone for being here. Great. We'll have to do this out. This one?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So my piece is called "You Knew This About Birds and People," and it's about the cats being turned. They aren't laughing, she says as she turns from the riverbank into the future, towards distant street signs and dinner plans and energy bills and some faraway ocean. I remain a little longer, looking out at the estuary and the cats being turned, soaring from one side of the banks to the other, their imprints barely breaking the surface of the dirt and rocks and other shadows. They're just birds, she says as she walks away. That's just the way they sound. But in my mind, as they dart and glide beneath the hazy clouded morning, they are laughing at the new day together. A few fly away, tired of the joke, and others stand waiting for the rest of us, every other living creature, to understand how hilarious all of this is. These birds begin calling before they hatch, laughing at our expectations and apologies while still in the shell, all before they take their first breath of the open air we need. Maybe this song sounds more like a scraping than laughter, a peeling away not melodic but necessary as the gray sky lightens from the hidden sun. Maybe their call is really a blessing, attempting to expose the better in everything we see. I consider this as I move away from the shores myself and look at my wife, her shoulders determined and far away now, walking towards where I should be, in a car parked just beyond our vision, waiting to take us into the rising, grinning imminent, what lies beyond. I try to catch up to her at the horizon striped by tall trees, all the while wondering if the clouds will ever part to reveal sunshine, and hoping that, in that spotlight, the cats being turned can tell me the punchline before I disappear. And for my other piece, it's by Major Jackson. It's called "Through the Valleys," and it's about the red-tailed hawk. The forest's upper branches were bronzed by falling sunlight. Traveling inward, a melancholic fog of not convincing but blessedness descended. Then we came upon him, perched eye level on a dead branch, unmoving, unperturbed, on sharp lookout. I thought of Kierkegaard's Misrelations, my despair like a thick grove, angled by a red-tailed hawk's immortal presence. After a long while, he scattered through maple tops, mallow breast bared, beating rustled feathers, and let out a screech above the mountain. I am returned to myself.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you, Susan. Small but sturdy, page 191. The red-breasted nuthatch is a Wednesday kind of bird. No Saturday flash or bold like a Monday. This small mid-week parade of a bird with its tin trumpet call has a knuckled big toe so it can march headlong down any tree with rough bark and crevices. One of the only birds to do so. 4 inches long with a rusty belly. And they're monogamous. One big love with a sprinkle of drama. He woos her by dancing wings out with a side sway. She likes a good dancer. She likes him near and will sound her trumpet non-stop if he strays too far. They work together to build their nest, store seeds, share childcare, winter in place. Some live over 7 years, blue zone birds. And for me, 40 years married, 30 years in the same house. So many storms have shaken my nest. I watch the nuthatches plunge headfirst, finding bits of treasure no one else can see. And my next poem that I'm reading is Ode to the Harlequin Duck, page 14, by Caitlin Hibbard. My dear Histrionicus, your name means actor, means drama, means something over the top. Oh, winged warrior, you choose the roughest water, rocks pounding the surf, pounding you, sometimes breaking your bones. Yet you boys have the coolest dance moves, tail raised, neck stretched, always the court jester, bobbing your head. So we have to consider that unmistakable face. Even your migration is weird. East-west instead of north-south like the other ducks. And I love how you swim and wing your way against the current, following each bend of the river, flying low, never just taking the easy way home. And I'm happy to introduce Susan Landgraf.
Thank you, Hiroko, and Stephanie, and Susan, and Elliott Bay for having us. My poem is called Dear Sandhill Crane. Can't hear. I usually break these. Now can you hear?
Yes.
Yay. So did you hear me say thank you?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Dear Sandhill Crane, I've heard you in fields and by the river of great gatherings, symphonies of purrs and gurgles that sound like ours swimming in your throat. Even without that trumpet call, I've heard your wings vibrate the air, long neck with beak that can drill a coyote's skull, cutting the wind. You and your mate dance, call to each other in a synchronized, complex duet. Of the genus Antigone, you've been here 2.5 million years, survived by gathering and foraging together for reptiles, snails, amphibians, sorghum, and waste corn. Walking, your head moves like a snake, but in the sky, riding the thermals, you're an arrow. And the poem that I'm going to read, that I chose, is by an amazing poet whom I have long known and who speaks with a brave voice. And that is Naomi Shihab-Nye. Red legs for the beautiful partridge of the pheasant family called chukar. We saw you in India, dipping down to the tank, as everyone called it, right before the sun sank. You walked cheerfully toward the water, oblivious to bigger birds, your red legs confident on sand. Chukar, how have you come so far? Oman to Palestine, Dead Sea, even Hawaii, your tail has only 14 feathers. What could you teach the crazy humans about coexistence. Chuck, chuck, chucker, chucker your. Chant of peace. Maybe your heart has 144 hopes. We need your wisdom, drenching us in our desert. I'm lonely for everything I believed as a child. We can be friends with anyone. Wars are dumb. Even though you are hunted in Washington and Oregon, our own civilized, gun-loving land, you still take a stand there. I read some very crucial notes about you. You are relatively unaffected by loss of habitat. Bless the Gazans, please. Expect to conduct their days in a heap of rubble. When disturbed, you prefer to run rather than fly. Bless their own thin legs. Make the ground their sky. And I'm happy to announce Allison Green.
Hello. Alright. I'm with the prose contingent. Page 205. How now? How now, brown-headed cowbird? For centuries you surfed bison, munching on their bugs. But we slaughtered your rides and you had to move on. Go west, young bird. We call you brood parasites, and not in a good way. Why make a nest when other birds will do it for you? Just fling their egg to the ground and deposit your own. Some surprised birds poke your kid's shell out. Some give your egg the heave-ho. But most foster your chick because you ransack their nests if they don't. Now you swagger around Washington State as if it's always been your home. Not many bison, but so many cows. Corralled by fences and just begging to be debugged. Hey, brown-headed cowbird. Did you hitch a ride on my great-grandfather's wagon on the way to his homestead in Moon Creek? My grandfather moved my mother to Spokane. My father moved us farther west. Generation after generation, we made our homes in other people's nests. And this is called Visitor by Cynthia Pratt. The spotted towhee walks cautiously around the feeder, then hops back in the bushes. Not the right kind of seed, I guess. Insects are flitting about the leaves. Oh, little bird, your name has changed from rufous-sided to spotted, but the first rolls off the tongue like limoncello, the other a stutter of white flakes. Who are those that keep changing our names until we can't remember our own language? And the next reader is Cindy Veach.
This is so lovely, thank you. And unkindness of ravens. I'm still not used to the way they converse on the rooftops of my new neighborhood, amid raised voices and the smell of bacon. Audible for more than a mile, they're not afraid to make their presence known, to craw, "I'm here," to their cronies. Ravens are gutsy, sure of themselves. Nothing about them is pretty or timid, not their monochromatic barrel bodies, not their sharp call, certainly not their table manners. I've witnessed them dine on roadkill, on the boulevard below my balcony. Car smart, they harvest a strip of intestine, then take flight inches from oncoming wheels, bloody amuse-bouche dangling from their mouths. They range the world over, rule the roost, and mate for life, while this woman, who won't eat pig or cow or lamb, who's afraid to speak up, sits alone with her steel-cut oats and Barry's Irish breakfast tea, pining for a good lover's fat and bacon. Letter to the Swainson Thrush by Jennifer Martelli. I've grown so envious of you, little bird, how you hatch out of tourmaline eggs on a cup-sized pillow of green moss, woven through with ivory, fungi, and filaments. How your nest is a home that's soft and curative, tucked into the crook of the alden in its thicket. How you're russet-backed and belly-spotted. How your eyes, buff-ringed, spectacled, stay low. My friend and I all say how pretty you are. I envy that too, and how you power nap in flight. I envy your lush life under the conifers, how you are like these trees, so shy that their crowns won't ever touch. Listen, I heard your song, and though you are shy, I love how you sing, even so. And it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Kevin Kraft. Oh, the change. Sorry, I went by the email. Jasmine Elizabeth Smith.
If you wanted to follow along, this is on page 15.5. Fulica Americana. Do you turn your head towards or against this critical mass we are a part of? The American Coot. I had almost forgotten belonging transcends the rocky foreground. The shoreline water picture still against Lake Washington. My small human sapience, what binary the news online tells me who and how I should oppose. What moves several thousand coots closer to the center, divisible only by the landscape. Tip up their mouths, full of lake bottom, again and again and again and again. A mass mobilization, hope, sedges, cattail water lodged with dragonflies, pattering open ground, across water together, coots lift as one airborne mass. After leaving a name by Jane Wong for the Black Oyster Catcher, and this is on page 75, I want a life where all I do is eat mussels, to use my body and all of its mechanical rightness, an orange key unlocking pearly brine, all mine. Late August along this rocky shore, and I am walking 2 years after my kind of divorce. Barnacles crushed to porcelain, dust underneath. Clams spit a bridge of water across my salt-stunned face, spigots of self. Oyster catchers don't really eat oysters. I learn instead mussels, limpets. How strange to name something that it really is not. Like me, a wife, not. Mussel catcher, limpet lover, black nail polish footed forager. Imagine a name that fits your feverish flash of neon light. The language of birds is untranslatable. But if I could allow myself this short song, spend each day swallowing minor moons of tidal meat, what would I call myself? How might I speak? And now introducing our last reader, I believe, is Kelli Agodon.
So when I moved to, I have 2 poems in here that I'm going to read, and before I moved to Kingston, or when I moved to Kingston, I would hear this loud shriek at night, which I assumed was a bat. it was not. It is my bird that I'm going to read about. It's the killdeer. And this poem is entitled, No Deer Were Injured in the Writing of This Poem. Like the chickadee-dee-dee, they were named for their song. Killdeer, killdeer, a high shriek across a sapphire sky, or a single song in the dark. Ground nester, in the sand dunes, the high grass, spring becomes a season of threats. Beachcomber with black lab, coyote, raccoons, foxes, crows, and gulls. Dear chattering plover, dear noisy plover, your call is your calling card. Your name is so misleading, killdeer, so harsh, as if Bambi is ready to be slain in the forest. Though you are not a hunter, but a protector. Like when danger approaches your nest, you fake a broken wing, so the stray cat follows what looks to be an injured bird across the gravel road, across the meadow, gone from the nest you built. And once far away, your faux broken wing act ends. The cat begins to pounce on your small body, and like that, you take flight. Chick safe, a cat left perplexed. Your call, a bubbling trill across the blue, laughter echoing above the shore. And this is my favorite bird. This is the bird I really chose, the kingfisher. To the kingfisher. My quiet tear, my small marvel, my wing wisher. I try to keep sorrow away from your nest, but you settle, then fly to the telephone wire where the pulse of sadness moves beneath your feet. Do not listen. It is the human word calling, and they are always crying. And the final poem of the evening is Martha Solano's poem, To the Pine Siskin. Marty just loved birds, and I'm glad that we're remembering her tonight. Thank you, Susan, for having her be the dedication, the opening line. Hope is the thing. All day I've been watching them dive in and out of a makeshift bird bath, a sculpture with a depression perfect for collecting rain. All day in the sun, high action flitting, frenetic, alive. I reach for my binoculars, but my bare eyes are enough. Their streaked bodies, their song going up the scale, streaked. As the sun moves from left to right, purpley pink to gray, the birds make the most of a clear, crisp day, crowd the perimeter. Perched in a circle I wish I could join. Hope is the thing with wing bars. Hope is the thing with a sharply pointed bill, yellow-edged wings, a short-notched tail, though how can I omit that their population is down since 1970 by 80%. That allaboutbirds.com refers to them as a common bird in steep decline. Salmonella outbreaks, prey for domestic cats, poisoning from cyanide and DDT, from pecking the asphalt and cement, ingesting motor oil, contaminated salt. Which is why I'm surprised when I learn this winter we're experiencing a siskin incursion, a blizzard of siskins, yards and decks deluged. Something to do with a lack of food up north, a southern migration in search of seeds. What happens at irregular intervals what happens when we need it most. So the next reader is you. This is your time to buy books. Susan, Stephanie, and Hiroko will happily sign and inscribe them they make perfect gifts for your non-poet friends. Like, this is actually one of the best poetry books you can get for someone who isn't a poet. So please buy books, have stacks, and thank you all for coming here.
And you'll sign too.
Oh yes, and ask the poets, they'll sign like a yearbook.